Good afternoon, good evening, students. I hope you're doing good. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with another lecture concerning linguistics for second year students. Today we are dealing with syntax, as you can see, a very complicated topic to talk about and try to discuss, but it is easy when you have a certain amount of concentration, because we are going to analyze sentences according to specific methods that we are going to see. We have three methods: ICA, PSG, and TGG. So TGG is the last one. I'm going to explain each one of them, then we are going to apply them when we analyze sentences. I'm going to illustrate with examples as they'll be displayed on the screen. Now, before I start, please leave a like on the Facebook page of this channel, of course, in order to be notified whenever I post something new, and subscribe on this YouTube channel in order to encourage me to do more and also to help you out during the exam period. So without any further ado, we shall start with syntax. Syntax is the study of the arrangement of words in sentences. It's also the study of the formation of sentences, which means how to arrange words to form meaningful sentences, of course. The term syntax originates from the Greek word syntaxis, which means arrangement. In this field of study that we call syntax, we focus on the structure and ordering of the components within a sentence. This is the main concern of syntax. So we're going to introduce you to some grammatical modal of sentence modals, because it's plural. We have three grammatical modals of sentence analysis. We're going to deal with three of them. We are going to deal with immediate constituent analysis, that we call ICA. We are going to deal with phrase structure grammar, that we call PSG, and we are going to deal with transformational generative grammar, that we call TGG. So all these are used in order, they are like methods to analyze a sentence. You might ask which method is more adequate. It's not, because these are very old, not that old, but they are among the first. So things have developed in terms of linguistics. When we talk about immediate, or the ICA was introduced in 1933, PSG was introduced in 1957, and TGG was introduced in 1965. So we have others, but these three are included in your syllabus as second year students. So we will start with ICA. What do we mean by ICA? It is a method of sentence analysis, like I said before, that was first introduced by Leonard Bloomfield and developed further, which means his method the method of Leonard Bloomfield, that we call ICA, did not remain as it was in the beginning, but it was developed by other specialists, of course. This ICA is, let's say method, is a system of grammatical analysis that divides sentences into successive layers or constituents. You might find the vocabulary is a little bit complex. What do we mean by layers? What do we mean by constituents? But it's easy. You are going to understand when we are going to illustrate with the tree diagram or even the examples. The first layer, you should pay attention here. The first layer is called binary division. It means you have two parts, and each part we call them immediate constituent. The second layer is the last one. It is called the ultimate constituent. Now, we will take a quick example, a small one, an easy one, that is introduced by George Yule, by the way, in his book. The example is poor John ran away. So, to analyze this according to ICA, we are going to take poor John alone as the first immediate constituent, and run away as a second immediate constituent. Everything that comes before the verb, right, or run away, as in the past, everything that comes before the verb is the first immediate constituent. Everything that comes after the verb, including the verb of course, is the second immediate constituent, and we call it binary division. We have two parts. Now, if we're asked to analyze it, including the second layer, we are going to take each part alone. We are going to have Paul alone, John alone, run alone, or ran alone, and away alone. This is called the ultimate division. This is the second layer. Now I'm going to display the tree diagram. You have the sentence. You make two arrows, right? You have Paul John on the left, run away on the right. This is the first layer. The second layer, we are going to take Paul John. We are going to make two, let's say, small arrows. You will have Paul alone plus John alone, on the same side. Then run away, we will do the same thing. Two arrows, run plus away. This is how the tree diagram of ICA works. Now, we move to the limitations of ICA. This is very important. What do we mean by limitations? It means the flaws, or let's say the problems that this method encounters or encountered in the past. The first limitation that we need to mention is it is not always clear where to cut between constituent. Right? I'm going to give an example. So if we take the example of that nice, efficient, old-fashioned secretary is here. So we have many, let's say many words. So as the first layer, it is easy, no problem at all. But if we are asked to, let's say, divide it according to ICA, but the second layer, things are going to be a little bit confusing. Are we going to divide it that alone, nice alone, or that nice alone plus a secretary, and so on and so forth, or that nice secretary alone, and we carry on? So we do not know. We cannot know where to cut precisely. So this is one of the problems that ICA has. Then we move to the second problem. It is mainly concerned with the identification and classification of constituents of sentences, but pays no attention to the function of these constituents. So sure, it might, let's say, divide the sentence into constituents or classify it into constituents, but it doesn't pay attention to the function of these constituents. We do not know whether it's a verb, we do not know whether it's a noun, so it is not labeled. It doesn't have noun, verb, adjective, or something like that. This is the second problem. The third one to mention is ICA cannot explain the relationship between active and passive sentences. So ICA is going to, let's say, divide a sentence in the same way whether it is active or passive, right? Now the fourth, let's say the fourth limitation or a flaw, it's the grammatical analysis of sentence or sentences were made without reference to meaning. So we do not know the meaning of the sentences. We're just classifying them or dividing them into constituents. We do not care about the meaning. This is among the limitations of ICA. And the other limitation that is also very important, the most important, I guess, it's the fact that it cannot clarify ambiguities. Alright, what do we mean by ambiguity? Ambiguity is when you have a sentence that can be understood in different ways, right? That can be interpreted differently. If we give an example, the police were ordered to stop drinking about midnight, right? This is the example. Was the drinking taking place at midnight, or the ordering was at midnight? The third, let's say, interpretation. Who was drinking? The police or someone else, right? So these are the limitations of PSG. And of course, later on, to remove the inadequacy, the idea of labeling was introduced, but still it had some other flaws that we are probably not going to mention on this video, but we are going to move to another method or module that we call PSG. Phrase Structure Grammar, or PSG, is a type of generative grammar in which constituent structures are represented by phrase structure rules. What do we mean by phrase structure rules? It is either order rules, this is what we mean by phrase structure rules, or rewrite rules. These are the two rules that you are going to see on this video, which is very important. And of course, PSG was first proposed by Noam Chomsky, as you all know him, I suppose. Then, in order to make you or get you familiar with this kind of rules, I'm going to illustrate it with an example and the diagram. Okay? So the example is simple. The wolf, or the animal, the wolf ate the meat. We have the subject, the verb, let's say the object. In order to analyze this according to the rewrite rules, right? Rewrite rules, not ordered rules. According to the rewrite rules, we start with an S that represents the sentence. The wolf ate the meat. We draw an arrow. The sentence has what? It has a noun phrase, that is the wolf. It has a verb phrase, that is ate the meat. Simple. We take the verb phrase now. We put it in the beginning of the second line. Verb phrase, we draw an arrow. What do we mean by verb? What does it have, this verb phrase? It has a verb, right, that is ate, and another noun phrase, that is the meat. This is a noun phrase. We take the noun phrase now. We put it on the first in the third line. What does the noun phrase have? In this sentence, of course, it has a determiner, that is the, and the noun, that is the meat. So we have, let's say, extracted the whole symbols of the sentence. Now we write a V and D. We draw the arrows. How many verbs we have in that sentence? 1. What is it? It's 8. How many nouns we have in that sentence? It's 2. Wolf and meat. How many determiners we have in that sentence? We have 2, and both of them are the same, so it's the. This is the rewrite rules, right? And then you can also label it in the tree diagram, and it will go like this. We have the sentence, 2 arrows, NP and VP, same thing. NP, we have determiner and a noun, the wolf. The VP has the verb, that is ate. It has also the NP. We open the NP, we have the determiner and the noun, that is the meat. As easy as it is. I hope this is understandable for now. Then Chomsky here proposed another system of rules, right? It is the ordered rules. It's like mathematics, right? Because he studied that. So he started with NP plus VP, right? The second, he opened, what do we have inside that NP? He has the determiner and the noun, plus VP. Great. The third line, he kept determiner and noun, but he opened the VP. Inside the VP, he had the verb and the NP. Then he started replacing the symbols with what they actually represent. Determiner represented the noun represented wolf. Then he wrote V plus NP. And he replaced the verb, right? We had the wolf, the verb was replaced by ate, that is the verb. Then the sixth line, he opened that NP. He had another determiner and another noun. He kept replacing the wolf ate the noun. The eighth line, that is the last one, he wrote the wolf ate the meat. Here you go. He wrote everything. He replaced everything, and this specific final line is called the terminal or the terminal string. Now we move to the limitations of PSG. This is very important. PSG generates all and only grammatical sentences, but some of these sentences can be meaningless. According to PSG, the boy took the ball and the ball took the boy. Both of them are grammatical, but one of them is meaningless. Of course, the ball cannot take the boy. The second weakness of PSG is that it cannot describe compound sentences. For example, John reads and listens to music. It didn't say John reads and he listens to music. John reads and listens to music. The third one is the fact that it cannot analyze sentences that present ambiguities. For example, the shooting of the hunters is terrible. It's either the way of shooting is terrible, or the hunters have been shot and that act is terrible. According to PSG, both of them are grammatical and they do not care about, or it doesn't care about the meaning. Right? Now we are going to move to the last modal, that is transformational generative grammar. Transformational generative grammar is a theory, or the theory that explains this arrangement and organization of sentences. It also means how correct and well-formed sentences are made or even formed. It attempts to define rules that can generate the infinite number of grammatical sentences possible in language. It seeks to identify rules or transformations to govern relations between parts of a sentence. So here, Chomsky is another, let's say it's another theory of Chomsky or method. He wanted to include the, let's say, the transformations such as active, passive. He wanted to include these things. So, according to Chomsky, each sentence has two levels of representation. Here we're going to deep into linguistics. We have surface structure, which means the formal structure of a sentence as it actually occurs in speech, and it is the, let's say, apparent structure of a sentence. It's what you can see, what you can hear. The other level of representation is the deep structure. It is the underlying meaning of the sentence. This is about TGG. Then we have something that is related to this method that we call recursion rule. It's the capacity to be applied more than once in generating a structure. Let's say the purpose was to create long sentences by this rule, of course. So this is it for syntax of today. I hope it's easy. I hope I made it clear, and if you have questions, feel free to message me, and if I see that there are a lot of questions, I might even redo another video answering your questions. But if it's clear, that's more like it. If you have questions, like I said, ask them in the comments below or message me on my Facebook page. Otherwise, I tell you, see you in the next video. Peace.